Greetings once more, dear friends, or should I say howdy, dear friends? I don't have a cowboy hat, I'm afraid, but today it is finally time to talk about Red Sun, hence the almost cowboy hat. Terence Young's spectacular spaghetti western from 1971. This is the Studio Canal 4K release that came out a little while ago, which I set a competition to last month. So I'm basically going to do a movie review today and then also pick the winner for the competition at the end. So if you're just in this to win it, you can skip to the end and find out who won. If you're interested to hear about my thoughts on the movie, then keep watching because that's what we're going to get into first. So Terence Young, I think easily my favourite of the Bond directors, and you could argue the father of James Bond. He certainly kind of set the tone and the style and particularly moulded Sean Connery into more Bond-like material back when he made Dr. No and then the ensuing other three Bond movies that he made. This he kind of got into almost 10 years later, so 1971 it was shot, released in 1972. It's a Franco-Italian co-production, so very much a real spaghetti western essentially, with four incredible leads. So we have Charles Bronson, we have Ursula Andress, Toshiro Mifune, and Alain Delon. It was billed as the first East meets West Western. I don't know whether or not it was the first, but certainly it was definitely notable for Toshiro Mifune, really, and that was the big draw for me. We see him on the back of the Steelbook here in all his incredible glory. Toshiro Mifune, one of my favourite Japanese actors, in fact just one of my favourite actors from any country really, and he is phenomenal in this film. The setup's fairly simple. Charles Bronson is playing Link, not Zelda Link, but Link Stewart in this case. Obviously we're way ahead of Zelda. He is kind of the leader of a group of kind of outlaws, kind of bank robbers, shady western types that you saw in an awful lot of these sort of movies, but he ultimately has a pretty strong moral code. His partner is Alain Delon of Le Samurai fame and Tony Argenta and a whole bunch of other incredibly cool movies. He's playing a character called Gauche, literally just the French for left. Ursula Andress is playing Christina, and Toshiro Mifune is playing Kuroda Jubei. So essentially, our train robbers come onto a train that's kind of heading across the States, decide to rob it. Unbeknownst to them, the train is escorting a party from Japan who are taking a ceremonial sword to gift to the president, a gift from the Japanese emperor. And Alain Delon, along with deciding to kind of basically double cross Charles Bronson, also decides that it'd be a good idea to steal the sword and kills one of the samurai escorts in the process. So basically a mission is set to the other surviving samurai, who's been played by Toshiro Mifune, to go and get the sword back. If he doesn't do this within 7 days, honor will be lost, and he has to basically self-sacrifice. He has to commit harikiri, and he initially reluctantly joins up with Charles Bronson, who wants to track down his former partner who's double-crossed him and stolen all the loot and left him for dead. Don't want to say exactly how he does that, because that's kind of one of the cooler action beats in the beginning of the film. But ultimately the two of them form this kind of reluctant partnership to head off to go and track down Alain Delon's character. Along the way, Charles Bronson tries to give him the dodge. He tries to run away from Toshiro Mifune a whole bunch of times, usually with pretty good comedic effect. Those beats are really good fun, and the two of them actually work really well. It becomes a very unlikely kind of I'd say buddy cop movie, but neither of them are cops. A very unlikely buddy movie. Buddy cowboy outlaw samurai movie, I guess. Not that many that fit into this genre that I'm aware of. But yeah, the two of them basically head off to try and track down Alain Delon. They realise the best chance of doing that, because obviously Charles Bronson knows who this dude is, and so knows kind of the circles that he runs in, and knows that he has a girlfriend that he is very besotted with, who's been played by Ursula Andress. She's playing Christina. So they basically head to the I guess, brothel where she works. I think it's probably meant to be a brothel, to go and really kind of try and use her to get to him, which kind of works, really, for the most part. There's a kind of slightly unexpected beat towards the last act where both sides have to kind of work together because they get attacked by Comanches. So they kind of basically have to sort of temporarily, reluctantly join forces to try and stop from being killed by the advancing Indians. Don't want to tell you exactly how that shakes out, and I don't want to tell you the last beats of the film because it goes in a way that I wasn't necessarily expecting but was entirely down with. I think it's got a really nice, satisfying conclusion to the film. I'm going to save that for you to discover. If it's a movie that you have not yet seen and are thinking of picking up, would highly, highly recommend that you do. I think it's shot beautifully well. I think the cinematographer was a French cinematographer. It was Henri Alecan, who the third time that he worked with Terence Young, this kind of falls right in the middle. So he'd previously shot Triple Cross with him when it was kind of war movie, and he went on to shoot Terence Young's doomed, never to be completed project Jackpot a couple of years later. And this was also actually one of 3 times that Terence Young worked with Charles Bronson. They shot Cold Sweat together, and they shot the Valachi Papers together. I've seen Cold Sweat, I've not seen the Valachi Papers, but certainly Red Sun at the moment for me is my favourite of the Terence Young Charles Bronson collaborations. The new Studio Canal restoration on the 4K disc and on the Blu-ray actually both look absolutely spectacular. Looks really glorious. I wish I could grab actual screen grabs, but I don't have the technology to do that. So the shots that I'm putting up throughout this video are just kind of been pulled from the promotional pictures and from Google. So please don't feel that they're reflective of how the film looks on Blu-ray and on 4K. It looks absolutely magnificent. I think the films from the early 70s really do benefit from kind of nice 4K scans if they're done respectively, and the Studio Canal one definitely has been. There's no kind of AI smoothing. Everything looks the way that it should do. There's a nice degree of film grain, as you would expect. But given that so much of this is shot in really bright outside locations, it just looks absolutely glorious, really sumptuous. Colours really pop. And kind of felt that, it looked better than I've ever seen the movie looking before. I'd only ever seen this on TV many, many years ago, so for me this was a massive step up from an old tiny little TV memory that I had of it. And I loved kind of seeing it in proper widescreen, because I don't think I saw it in widescreen. I think it was definitely panned and scanned and cropped when I saw it back in the day. So yeah, loved seeing it in the widescreen for the first time, and loved seeing it in kind of glorious new restored quality. Toshiro Mifune kind of steals the show for me, as I sort of expected he would. Charles Bronson holds his own, but hard for him when he's up against so many kind of cool motherfuckers. Toshiro Mifune and Alain Delon both just ice cool in this, man. Toshiro Mifune really brings an awful lot of heart to it. I think he was a little bit more comfortable with English by the time that this came around, and he was famously incredibly professional on set, so never had a script handy, memorised all of his lines, the kind of consummate professional. So if he felt that he couldn't deliver, then he didn't agree to the part. I think he'd also turned down Darth Vader for George Lucas in 1976, 77. But yeah, very glad that he agreed to do this, and it works really, really nicely. So I think the fact that he's not super fluent in English kind of works really well for the two men kind of basically sounding each other out and getting to know each other, and kind of works for the conversations that they do have. But yeah, I think he does an incredibly good job here. Alain Delon, amazing as a villain. I don't think I'd actually seen him as a villain. I never really feel that he's particularly villainous, even though I've seen him killing a whole bunch of people in The Samurai and Tony Argenta and a bunch of other movies, but I kind of always saw him as being largely the hero in those films. He's definitely the villain here, but very cool, ice cool throughout the whole film. He's not in it that much. It's really Charles Bronson and Toshiro Mifune's movie, but when he does, he kind of lights up the screen. He's really entertaining, kind of, I think, really relishing and enjoying playing a slightly more villainous part, and I think really enjoying being in a Western, getting to do horse riding, shooting guns, all that kind of good fun stuff that goes along with that shorter genre. So yeah, for me, all around, just an absolutely fantastic film. And Studio Canal put together a pretty good little selection of extras. There's principally 2 on here. Technically 3. We get the original trailer, which has not been restored, so you can kind of see the film looking an awful lot worse than the final restoration does. But I kind of like having that contrast between the sort of unrestored old trailer, and then you can enjoy the film in its beautiful restored quality. But our 2 main extras, the first one, I'll cover the shortest one first. We've got a great little extract from the Pour le Cinema TV series from France. This is from on the set of Red Sun, which runs for about 9 minutes long. Really cool to see. I think Terence Young, completely fluent in French. I think he lived out most of the kind of later years of his life working and living in France. So he's completely fluent. So he's speaking in French the entire time. You have English subs, obviously. Charles Bronson speaking in English, and Delon is obviously speaking in French, and Toshiro Mifune is speaking in Japanese, and it's subtitled into English. But really cool kind of seeing all of them on set and kind of hearing how they got on. Ursula Andress, incidentally, also speaking French. I think she's originally from Switzerland, I think, which French is kind of one of the 2 languages there, so she's clearly very fluent as well, and really interesting hearing her speak about what she has to do on the film, and also Charles Bronson speaking about his experience of being out there in Spain and shooting out in Spain, and what it was like for him working with Toshiro Mifune. Yeah, just a great little 9-minute short. It kind of shows you how high quality that Pour le Cinema series was, and I hope it kind of sets a bit of a precedent of getting more of those episodes on relevant releases from that kind of era, because it's really cool seeing something from basically that's been shot and captured at the time that the movie was being made. The other extra is a little bit more meaty, and it's Stephen Okazaki speaking about Toshiro Mifune. Now, I wasn't, I must admit, familiar with Stephen Okazaki before watching the extra. Turns out he's the director of the incredible documentary Toshiro Mifune The Last Samurai, which I highly, highly recommend that you track down if you've not had a chance to see it. I had actually already seen the documentary, but just didn't make the connection with the name, because the documentary is narrated by Keanu Reeves. So in my mind, Keanu Reeves and that documentary kind of go hand in hand. I wasn't actually familiar with the director's name, but this is about a 20-minute section. He does mention quite a lot of the things that he explores in the documentary, kind of facts that he found out about Mifune. But it's a really interesting 20 minutes long. It's kind of like a nice extended preview for how wonderful his Toshiro Mifune The Last Samurai documentary is. I'll leave links down underneath, not only to Red Sun if you're looking to pick up a copy, but also to find the documentary too. The BFI put it out here in the UK a couple of years ago. It's only on DVD at the moment, to my knowledge. I don't think it's had a Blu-ray release anywhere. It's available to stream. I think you can find it through the BFI player on Amazon Prime or these sort of places. I ended up picking up the DVD from Terracotta, and I will leave the link down below to that. I'm a Terracotta affiliate, so anytime that you guys get anything from Terracotta, please use one of my links below and you'll help out supporting the channel at the same time. But that, I think, is pretty much all I have to say about it. Just 2 thumbs way up for Red Sun. I think it's a really enjoyable, really great Sunday afternoon movie, actually, particularly in winter time when it's getting colder outside. It's nice to kind of go and spend a little bit of time in the burning sunshine, though there is a couple of scenes shot high in the mountains in the snow. To pretty great effect here, but yeah, just looks absolutely fantastic. Really great performances from a bunch of incredibly charismatic leads. Charles Bronson, always really watchable, and an actor that I always really enjoy, and particularly when he's doing Western parts, and kind of when he's doing some of the kind of like the more, because he worked quite a lot in France and Italy over the years, and I think the films that he made across there I maybe slightly prefer to some of his American ones. Hard to say. He did a whole bunch of great movies, but yeah, just a trip seeing Alain Delon, Toshiro Mifune, Ursula Andress, and Charles Bronson all together under the direction of Terence Young, who by this point just knew exactly what he was doing. So I kind of got the sense this was a pretty effortless directorial job for him. He could probably do this sort of stuff without breaking a sweat, and does a magnificent job here. Highly, highly, highly entertaining. So stick around if you want to find out who wins the glorious sealed copy that I have to give away. And a huge thanks again to Studio Canal and to Fetch for sending this up to me first. Normally in these sort of situations, the Studio Canal would just send the winner the prize straight out, ask them to send it to me first, so I could expand it out to make it open to anybody from anywhere in the world, because usually Studio Canal will only send these things in the UK. So we will pick a winner. I'm going to do names in a hat, and then I will be back once I've done that, and we will we'll wrap up the video. So stay tuned. I'm going to pop into the overhead view for our names in a hat bit, and I'll see you in a second. Okay, so here we go. There was a great response to this. I think we got about 36, 38. I can't quite remember the exact number of entries, but thank you to everybody who has entered. I'm going to speed this bit up, otherwise we're going to be here for the rest of our lives. So we'll pop our names into a hat and then we'll pick a winner. So speed time. Okay, so let us dive in and pick our winner. And we have, drum roll, Alistair Dyson. Congratulations, dude. Thank you very much to everybody who entered. I should mention again, I'm going to leave links down underneath for anybody who wasn't lucky enough to enter for this one, though do keep your eyes peeled. I try and do competitions and giveaways as often as I can. I did notice that this is sold out on Amazon, but you can still get it at HMV, and HMV are doing I think 20% off as part of their Black Friday deal. So if you weren't the one who was lucky enough to win, then you do want to pick up the Steelbook, you can kind of find it on HMV, and I think it's still available on DVD as well, and on regular Blu-ray if you didn't kind of want to go for the 4K. But congratulations once again to Alistair Dyson. Alistair, I will be in touch with you and get your address and get it in the post to you as quickly as I can. Thank you again to everybody who watched, everybody who entered. I've been the Fire Dragon, and I will see you all very, very soon. Take care.